Australia's Agriculture Minister is resisting calls to close borders to Indonesia in a bid to stop foot and mouth disease spreading locally. An outbreak could devastate the $80 billion livestock industry after 150 years free of the highly contagious disease. Murray Watt has told Sky News screening in Australian airports and spending on biosecurity in Bali is increasing. He's ruling out closing borders as it would be even more detrimental to trade relations.
The Australian government will be providing $500,000 through Meat and Livestock Australia as an industry partnership to work with Indonesian feedlots to help them increase their awareness, increase their training and increase their procedures in terms of managing the outbreak in feedlots.
Here, Prime Minister, just through this way.
Requiring inbound passengers to dispose of footwear that could carry the disease or to use the footbaths isn't being considered for now. It's despite calls from the opposition and some producers to take drastic measures.
What fail-safes have we got that it won't spread further? And we are transient. I mean, people can get off a plane from an airport and drive in the country for a few hours to their destination, unwittingly knowing that they may have it.
Joining me now live is the New South Wales Minister for Agriculture, Dugald Saunders. Minister, thank you very much for joining us. As we've just heard, Murray Watt has said that Australia won't close its borders to Indonesia despite the spread of foot and mouth in Bali. Do you think that that is a sensible approach?
Look, I think at the moment the federal government's best placed to decide on whether closing borders is necessary. Certainly I've heard that call from some people as well, that we should immediately shut down the borders. Look, there are other countries that we travel to that have foot and mouth. Bali's obviously become a bit of a hotspot because it certainly is a tourism destination, particularly right now in sort of winter time where people are heading regularly. We've got 103 flights a week that head to Bali. So it is concerning, but I think locking down just one border might be difficult at the moment for the government. But again, it's part of something that I think the federal government needs to keep everything on the agenda, and as things start to change, be ready to adapt and do what needs to be done at that point in time.
OK, so would you like to see the border closed?
Look, what I'd like to see is some of those immediate things that you've talked about that, again, the federal government isn't necessarily committing to, like the footbath. And the footbath isn't necessarily literally walking through water, but a foam mat that's embedded with material that does a really quick, efficient job of sanitising shoes before you're getting on a plane. Now, if we were talking about Bali, there's one exit point from Bali onto air flights that go all around our country. That's one simple way you could do it at the Indonesian end and very quickly create a bit more awareness of what's happening. And then at the Australian end, again, no matter which port you fly into, I'd like to see 100% of bags being actually inspected and checking for other shoes and other materials that might be in bags, rather than just a bit of a piecemeal approach we've got at the moment. Now, that's not to say that our biosecurity isn't really top-notch, because it is in Australia. But with the threat at Bali and the amount of people that are travelling to and from, it is more than just an awareness campaign that we need. We need that as well, but we can take some fairly swift actions with that meaningful surveillance that I think would make the difference.
Why then haven't these measures been implemented already? We've spoken to some farmers at Sky News who say that it's just too little too late to try and step up border security measures now. How worried are you that it could already be here and we haven't acted?
Oh, no, look, I don't think it's too late at all. I think now is the time to be doing it. And look, we've had some really fruitful discussions. Myself and the Deputy Premier wrote to the Minister, Murray Watt, at the end of last week, just outlining some of the things we think are a really productive way of moving forward. He's been to Indonesia now and went there yesterday, along with the Chief Vet. I've also spoken with the Chief Veterinary Officer, Mark Shipp, around some of the planning, and I would expect there would be some more announcements from the federal government around this. But I think those surveillance measures could happen as soon as the federal government's ready to roll them out. We will support those measures. We're leading the way as far as the rest of the states are concerned with our ability to very quickly focus on fast-tracking vaccine production. We're working with overseas partners around how that can happen. We've committed $164 million in the budget on biosecurity, so I'm 100% committed to saying we need to do more. At some level, though, we do need some federal support, and some of the things are around those international borders and surveillance. That's where I'm asking for them to step up, but I'm confident there will be more to come from the feds.
There are a number of information campaigns out there. I know that you were at Sydney Airport only a few days ago. But these campaigns are really putting the onus on travellers on ways that they can prevent bringing foot and mouth into the country. How confident are you that travellers will actually do the right thing?
Yeah, look, probably that's why I'd like to see a bit more at our end. And I'm confident that people, if they get the message, will try and do the right thing, but not everyone will. And there definitely will be that awareness campaign. And we've seen lots of social media campaigns already about leaving your thongs in Bali or leaving your boots in Bali. And plenty of people already actually do that, which is fantastic. The awareness campaign, there's new brochures, there'll be radio ads, I gather, and a few other bits and bobs. That's all fantastic, but that will reach a portion of the population. That's why I would like to see 100% of bags that get inspected when you arrive back in Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane. It doesn't matter where you're arriving in Australia. I think we should expect that if you're coming from Bali or Indonesia, you should have your bag inspected. And I think people in general would accept that. It's not too much of a burden to protect what is an $80 billion problem if it gets in here.
Naturally, farmers and the community are really worried right now. What would be your message for them?
Look, the message is keep spreading the word around how important it is that all of us do play a role. So whilst I think we can and the federal government can step up and maybe do a few quick things to fix the problem, it is also ultimately responsibility of everyone who's travelling. And we've seen lately, I mean, we've got lumpy skin as well in Indonesia, which is not quite as bad as foot and mouth. It would still be a devastating scenario if it got in. We've got varroa mite happening around New South Wales as well. Everyone has a role to play in making sure that our nation and our state particularly stay virus-free and endemic-free. So let's try and do all we can. Everyone can play a role. Keep listening for those messages, and I'm hoping there'll be a bit more to announce from the federal government shortly.
Dugald Saunders, we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Danica. Nice to talk to you.